KOMU8's Rachel Barrett spoke to two experts and addressed student concerns as they head back to school. So Rachel, what did those experts have to tell you?
Emily, the two experts I talked to said that hybrid learning can be really difficult for some students. They have to manage two different styles of instruction, and it's pretty easy to get lost. But they also said that there are ways they can be successful. I asked DPS students to let me know what questions they had for those hybrid experts so that they can be comfortable with this new style of instruction.
KOMU8's Rachel Barrett is live at the Capitol with the details. Rachel, what have you learned?
Jordan, behind me there was just a line of Missouri Park Ranger police cars lined up next to where lawmakers enter the Capitol. Today I spoke with a representative from the Missouri Department of Public Safety who told me they were here today assisting Capitol Police. This stack of paper contains 100 charges against Boyd and Stephanie Householder. For Boyd Householder, 80 charges. 52 of those related to child abuse and neglect, and 6 of them to statutory rape. Now, his wife, Stephanie Householder, was also charged 22 times, 10 of those for child abuse and neglect. And I spoke with their daughter today, and she says while she was surprised by the charges, there's still work to be done advocating for these victims.
Welcome back. 75 years ago today, a small town in the middle of Missouri was the center of the world stage. Winston Churchill's Iron Curtain speech captured the attention of the entire world and marked the start of the Cold War. In Fulton, the true meaning of the speech hits closer to home. KOMU8's Rachel Barrett spoke with a woman who witnessed Churchill and Truman parading down the streets of Fulton 7.5 decades ago.
I'm a native Calawegian, born and raised here.
Pride.
I've seen a lot of this wonderful country we have, but you know, there's just no place like home.
A small town that's home to a big history and a small group of people who have witnessed it all.
The day that Churchill and Truman came to Fulton, I do remember that. I remember my daddy putting me up on his shoulders, and I remember him saying, "You watch this, baby. Remember it. This is important." And it was. For many reasons. It changed our world, not just our community.
An iron curtain has descended across the continent.
The speech had international significance, marking a changing Europe and new American leadership against the Soviets. The fact that the speech happened in Fulton is an essential part of that legacy.
I think that message, a warning to the world in America's heartland, hit home.
As the Cold War developed around her, at her house, Churchill's speech followed Haymart's family.
I do remember my mom and dad discussing it the rest of their lives.
History at home.
And that's kind of what we do here in Callaway County and in Fulton, is we just say, come on in and make yourself at home. So, and that's what we did when Churchill came and Truman. We said, come on in, say what you got to say and make yourself at home.
The home of a legacy that lives on. In Fulton, Rachel Barrett, KOMU8 News.
The National Winston Churchill Museum in Fulton celebrated today with virtual programming. Tomorrow, the museum will induct a class of Churchill Fellows. Past fellows include Walter Cronkite, President Dwight Eisenhower, and Margaret Thatcher.
Say failures in Missouri's welfare system led to the abuse of Missouri's most vulnerable children. KOMU8's Rachel Barrett investigated a breakdown in systems that allowed faith-based youth homes to continue patterns of abuse.
I've seen staff members pick the kid up and slam him back on the ground.
After years of abuse.
Essentially, they would grab me by the collar or the arms or straight bear hug me and body slam me to the ground.
The House Committee on Children and Families unanimously voted yes on the bipartisan House Bill 557.
It has been voted to pass.
The bill passed will require youth homes to register in the state, force them to run background checks on employees, and allow government officials to inspect facilities and close them down.
Missouri is no longer going to be the safe haven for these type of vultures who want to come here and prey upon our kids.
But child advocates say it's not just a failure in law, but also a failure of Missouri's child welfare system. And that failure allowed children to be abused.
In my time, I have seen far too many failures. And so I do believe that it's systemic and that it needs to be addressed.
Stopping child abuse requires 3 different agencies to work together. The first is Social Services, which is under the governor behind me. Now they take hotline calls and send out investigators to look into child abuse claims. But Social Services is completely powerless without the help of local law enforcement, who accompany the investigators and are the muscle behind making sure that these investigations are effective. Finally, the case moves to the courts, where a juvenile officer can remove a child and they can prosecute the case. Now, if any of these people don't work together perfectly, it creates an opening for children to fall through the cracks.
But I am comfortable in saying that these investigations require a multidisciplinary response between those 4 entities, and that didn't happen.
Schrag says he reached out multiple times for help while he was in one of these homes, but his complaints fell on deaf ears.
Then I ran away one time and told the cops, like, you're beating me, like they're beating us. The cop didn't care. They cuffed me up, brought me right back to the school.
Advocates say the bill will take a step forward.
I absolutely believe that these bills would make substantive and meaningful change for children's safety in Missouri.
But institutional problems will keep holding children back.
Our system isn't where we need it to be.
In Jefferson City, Rachel Barrett, KOMU 8 News.
Welcome back. I'm excited about this story. Get this, ice flows form in the Missouri River when temperatures get cold enough to inject freezing air into the river, forming slush. That slush forms together with the help of the moving current to create these pancake-like pieces you see here in the Missouri River. Now, KOMU 8's Rachel Barrett shows us why for some people these ice formations are worth braving the cold.
It's cold out there.
The Missourians are about tired of it.
And most people are running inside.
We're about to get the negatives in single digits here soon.
But Steve Schnarr is heading out.
Like, where is everybody? Like, this is awesome.
Taking in the sights and sounds of ice flows, a visual treat created by the Missouri River and delivered to the banks of mid-Missouri.
It's just that sound and all the visual painting that the river's doing as the ice is forming and moving.
But it's not just the sights that pull him in.
All of this amazing ice, and when you stop and listen, you can hear all of that moving water and moving ice. It's really entrancing.
And he wants you to see the flows for yourself, too.
Come down the hill, come down to the river, and experience it and feel like it's their river.
A gift from nature.
All the wild nature and power that's here.
That flows right through the state.
It feels like the wilderness, and you're right there with a great river view.
In Columbia, Rachel Barrett, KOMU 8 News.
In addition to those executive orders, 3 of those reversed Trump-era policies that focused on immigration. In mid-Missouri, immigrants and the organizations that help them are reacting to those changes. KOMU 8's Rachel Barrett spoke to one refugee who has made Columbia home.
Ching Cheng Haimyo arrived in Columbia in 2009 from Myanmar. She spoke no English then. The nonprofit City of Refuge helped her. 5 years ago, she opened this international market.
Just me and my husband, we work full-time, more than full-time.
She wants to grow her business so she can employ other refugees.
I know about more the Burmese family that who come here, how hard for them, for work, when you don't know English, when you don't read, when you don't write. It's very hard to get a good job.
During the Trump administration, the cap for refugees entering the country was set at a record low of 15,000. Biden promises to raise that cap to more than 125,000. City of Refuge says these changes will have an impact on Columbia's refugee population.
Stances that this new administration has taken has been really exciting and really positive.
Because of the cap on refugees, many refugee resettlement offices closed partially or completely. City of Refuge expects their work to pick back up and begin welcoming more families to mid-Missouri.
This community has been made better because of these families, and we're really excited to see more families reunited, more people from similar countries or backgrounds who want to get involved with our community.
Haimyo also hopes more refugees will be able to make their way to America, just as she has.
A lot of families are separating, so if they can help the family here, that would be nice.
In Columbia, Rachel Barrett, KOMU 8 News.